Today, you are going to hear a conversation that I had with my new friend, Guy East. Guy and his family have been receiving the Links to Messiah boxes for a while now. So I want you to lean in and listen how impactful it's been for their family. Celebrating Shabbat, celebrating the Jewish holidays with their family. We talk about how celebrating Shabbat specifically has brought a rest and a slower pace into their lives, really allowing them to focus on what truly matters. One of the things he said really stuck with me. He said, Shabbat has forced us to slow down and enjoy life. Within 3 or 4 Shabbat dinners, our lives were totally changed. Here's my conversation with Guy East. Hey there, my friends. Welcome to the Links to Messiah podcast, where we are passionate about teaching our children all about the connections between the Old and New Testament. I'm your host, Rachel Links Kushner, also known as the Chief Enthusiasm Officer of Links to Messiah, and I am so thrilled to have you join us today. Come along and discover how your family and children can grow in their faith as you discover the beautiful links that God reveals throughout Scripture about the history of His people and His Son Jesus, our Messiah. Well, I appreciate you being here. I really do, Guy. It's so nice to meet you face to face. I kind of feel like I know you.
Yeah, it's great to meet you face to face too, over
Yeah.
the virtually, I guess. So
Virtually, I know. It's like, well, we're not really meeting face to face. I say we're meeting screen to screen, which
yeah,
is like as close as I can get at the moment, right? So I'll
yeah,
take it. I'll take it. Okay, so I wanted to start by asking, like I was going to say, well, what made you purchase the box in the first place? But your situation is a little different because it was your dad. So I had reached out to your father, who is also named Guy East, and he I don't know if you know this, but he sent me the most encouraging, beautiful email that he was so excited. He said, because one of my sons celebrates Shabbat regularly. And that's you, right?
yep.
Yeah. And so he was just, he, he had, he kind of reminded me a little bit of my own dad, just very encouraging, very enthusiastic, very positive. Um, so
Yeah,
to get that from him was just really a bright spot for me and something that I will always remember about him.
yeah. He was always very encouraging and just very involved in our lives, and
Mm.
just such a sweet person. And he was just always by your side. He's like just a puppy dog almost. They just wanted to
Aw.
be there with you.
Yeah.
um, and encourage you. And so, yeah, but we started doing Shabbat. And so the reason we started doing Shabbat was we read a book called The Ruthless Elimination of Hurry. And at the time, our lives were chaotic, and we had,
Mm.
3 young kids, 5, 3, and 1 years old. And
Yeah.
we were just like, something's got to change, and we got to like slow down our lives or we're not going to make it. And so in the
Mm.
book, he mentions Shabbat as an important spiritual practice to adopt. And so we started doing it, and within 3 or 4 Shabbat dinners, and
Hmm.
our lives were like totally changed. We said, wow, how did we survive for 30?
Really? How was it changed? What changed? What was different? What was new?
Well, there's a lot of things. It's a
Mm.
loaded question, but I think
Is it? Okay.
that the way that we lived the rest of the week changed, because we had this one pillar day that we were going to
Yeah.
say no to everything. And we were saying no to a lot of really good things so that we could say yes to the best, which was rest
Mm.
and worship. And we kind of act like it's Christmas one day a week. And so just this
Love it.
idea of that we
Mm.
are way more involved with our children, that we're not trying to live a busy life, and Shabbat reinforces that. And then also this idea that God brings to completion what we are not able to complete. And
Mm.
and
Wow.
so,
Yeah.
and this idea that creation was meant to be enjoyed. And I think you see that in the story of creation, and just we were not enjoying ourselves, we were not enjoying too much of life. But
Right.
Shabbat has forced us to do that. And then not, and beyond that, it's also instilled this sense of like generational family heritage in our children.
Yes,
Like,
yes.
here's this opportunity to shape and to form our kids in, this weekly tradition and celebration. And I think, as a modern day Christian, I would have thought that Shabbat was a Jewish thing, and now I
Sure.
realize that it's really a Christian thing, and
Yes.
I hope that so many other people can just join in celebrating this. But then that kind
Yeah.
of led us to celebrate the other Jewish holidays, which is what the
Oh, okay.
your boxes, links to the Messiah, really helped us live into and understand more of, because
Okay.
there's this disconnect
Mm,
of the Jewish holidays and how it relates to our Christian faith and what that means and
right.
how Jesus plays a role. And
Mm.
your boxes, the Sukkot and Hanukkah
Oh,
and
yeah.
Purim have
Yes.
really helped us instill that in our kids, and it's
That's
been really
awesome.
fun. Yeah. So.
Yeah. I I love I just want to go back to something that you said about Shabbat and rest. That how it really you said it like changed your whole sort of family rhythms and dynamics, and that you're able to live from that day into your week because you have this day of rest, this Christmas day every week, something special that you really set aside and set it apart to make it a holy day for your family. And it doesn't mean like, you're sitting on your knees and in prayer the whole day, right? You're having fun, you're enjoying your family, you're taking a break from all of your work.
Hmm.
I
Yeah.
love it.
Yeah, I used to think that it was a day of like abstinence where you would fast and kind of be
Right.
sorrowful, but no, it's a day of celebration. It's a day of,
Yes.
just family and worship. And it's not, and I think that as a culture, I don't know. I've just heard things in our culture of like, oh man, I'm not, Shabbat or Sabbath is not something that I want to celebrate. Just like I don't want to rest. I don't, I don't want to have anything to do with that. But I think that should be really the opposite of like
Sure.
this day that we do live for. Like, we literally
Mm.
change the rest of our week, and we look forward to this one day. It's the
Mhm.
best day of the week. It's the highlight of the week is the Shabbat.
Yeah.
And I think that in our culture, it's just so easy to live such a high paced life, but it's really changed our decisions on what our kids do and what
Mhm.
they're involved in. I mean, you got schools, you got sports, you got school
Right.
activities, and we're saying no to that, or at least on the Shabbat, right? We say no to that
Mhm.
so that we can instill this sense of this faith in our kids and
Yeah.
family tradition and environment that otherwise they wouldn't get, because
Yes.
we've just lived such a busy life, so.
Right, because there's a difference between having a busy life and having a full life,
Hmm.
right? We can be
Yeah.
busy, busy, busy. That's easy, right? And it's almost like a badge of honor today in our culture. How are you? Oh, I'm so busy. Oh, wow. Well, things must be really good. Busy doesn't equal fantastic all the time. Sometimes
Yeah.
it's too much. It's too overwhelming. So I love that you're instilling that for your family, and what a gift you're giving your children and your grandchildren and your it'll just carry on in your family tradition.
Yeah, I mean that's the hope and you see that in the Bible of just this. God was pretty serious in the Old Testament about
Yes.
the Shabbat tradition and that the Israelites would obey the Sabbath. And I get it now, because
Mm,
if
mhm.
you don't have that weekly rhythm, then you lose the tradition, you lose the traditions of
Yeah.
faith and the traditions of family.
Mm.
And unfortunately, I think that happens all too often. But I think too, like, what does that mean? What is the what? How does that practically? How do we practically live that out in our lives? And it's for us, it's a dinner on Friday night where we invite friends and family, and it's an
I love it. You do that every Friday.
Oh yeah, we do it every Friday. Yeah.
Yes.
Sometimes
Awesome.
people that we don't know, or we're
Yeah.
starting to do it with more with family and aunts and uncles so the kids can understand,
Yes.
to
Very
the
cool.
third or fourth generation who their ancestors are. And then we
Right.
don't do any TV, no cell phone, no driving, no commerce
Mm.
on Shabbat until about Saturday afternoon.
Yeah.
So
Great. That's
yeah.
really cool. That's really, really neat. So I'm curious to hear a little bit about how your kids respond when one of those boxes arrives. What happens in the East home when the box shows up at your doorstep?
Well, they get to it before we do. Um, and normally the crafts and activities are thrown around the floor or the table,
I
and
love
they
it.
just take matters in their own hands and just really, I'm not kidding or exaggerating, they really do. And they just love it. And so um, the boxes have been really awesome for our family, just to live into that and to hear more of the stories, and just to be all in one box. Everything's in one box, and
Yeah,
we have
it's all
everything we
right
need
there.
to kind of understand and connect the dots of, okay, here's here's how this points to Jesus, and here's how
Yes,
we're going to celebrate
yes.
this and integrate it to our family. And I think with young kids too, just having the activities to do, um, the Hanukkah, they love doing Hanukkah with the dreidel and just doing all the
Yes.
activities. So
It's
yeah,
fun. Yes. Yeah, we're getting ready for Hanukkah. I've been busy wrapping. I say that the Links to Messiah elves are getting all the boxes ready to go out.
nice, awesome.
Wrapping
Well, we can't
everything,
wait.
getting it ready.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Actually, I want to say it was either December 15th or 16th of last year, and I received a beautiful email from your dad. It'll make me cry because it was so, so sweet, because he had gotten the Hanukkah box, and I'm not sure who put together the menorah with him or which grandchildren or who, whatever, but it was a picture of from his perspective, sitting at like the head of the table. I'll have to send it to you. It's beautiful. And you
Yeah.
can see the menorah there, and you see people around the table talking, just having a meal. And he just told me like how special it was. So I'll find that picture and send it to you. It's really beautiful because I don't
Yeah,
know
please
the
do.
members of the family around the table, obviously. So, but you will, of course, it's your family. So
Yeah, well, that dinner, and so the Hanukkah dinner that we had, and I think we did a Shabbat around that time. Those were
yes,
like the last dinners that we had. So you helped facilitate some of the last dinners that we
yeah,
had with our father, and it was just really special times as an entire family all together. And the previous Christmas, everything was like totally chaotic and everything was breaking, but this was like every night for we had really meaningful dinners and time together and explanation of what the Hanukkah and what
yeah.
that you know
Mm.
means. So yeah, so thank you for that.
Well, that means a lot. I think it's just it's just really special. Okay, I got
Yeah.
to control myself or I'm going to lose it. Um, so do you have any trying to think like what has been do you have a sweet little story, a funny little moment, something that happened when you guys were interacting with any one of the boxes that you've received? Anything come to mind?
Well, what one coming to mind is just the Purim box
Yeah.
and playing the play and the parts, and I forget the parts off the top of my head right now.
Yeah,
But
yeah, that's fine.
what is it when it's Mordecai? You
Mordecai,
boo.
Haman. Yeah.
Yeah. No,
Haman, you say
Haman.
boo.
Boo. Yeah. And so we literally sat all the kids down,
Yeah,
and they had masks on and stuff, and we
right.
were playing the parts, and every time we said Haman, they'd boo, boo.
That's right. It makes it hilarious and so much fun.
Yeah, you realize how often the word Haman, the name Haman, shows up throughout
I
the
know.
book.
That's right. And it causes such chaos and fun because it's like we're trying to tell the story, right? But it's interrupted constantly with all the booze.
Yeah. No, but I also think just like at Hanukkah last year, playing um,
Mm,
dreidel with the kids, and I don't know. There's
yeah.
just a lot of moments, and just I mean, every week it's this awesome interaction. Not one specific thing, but I think, yeah, just this connection of what these Jewish traditions mean to how they point to Jesus, and how we can really practically teach our children these
Mm-hmm. Yes.
these traditions and holidays, and we wouldn't be able to do that otherwise. Like I've not come across any other tool or any other activity that so clearly and succinctly connects, each of the holidays, and that we can
Yeah.
interact with our children. So the Links to Messiah boxes are just really instrumental in that, and have been really meaningful. So
I'm so glad. It just does my heart so much good, to hear that. Just to know that, like, I'm in my 50s. I never thought in my 50s God would put this new calling on my life. But I feel like, I grew up celebrating all of these holidays. And I
yeah,
thought every Jewish family believed in Jesus until I was older. I didn't understand. I didn't understand. But anyway, that's awesome. Well, I really
yeah,
appreciate your time, and I thank you so much, and
yeah.
look forward to y'all receiving our next Hanukkah box. You're gonna love it. It's gonna be fun.
Yeah, well, thank you for all you do. It's really meaningful, and it's just made a big impact on our family. And keep doing the great work that you're doing. So,
I'm gonna keep going. Okay, we can conclude, but I do want to ask you one question. Why do you think it's important to teach our children when they're young the Old Testament? Why does that matter to you and to your family?
oh wow. Well, it's a solid foundation for their faith moving forward, and I think just understanding the broad story and picture of the Bible, and I
Yes.
think that that's really critical.
Yeah.
I think that's often lost. And the holidays are just the perfect way. God, instrumented it, obviously the perfect way of
Sure.
just like teaching through these practical, hands-on celebrations and activities. And it's not just you can teach the children not just through the reading of the Word, which is the most important part, but through these activities,
Yeah, like
through the dinners.
hands-on
And
and yeah.
but I mean, if I think for our, I think once if you get too far down the road and the kids are too old, and I'm just speaking for ourselves here. Every situation is different, but I can see our kids not being rooted. They being rooted in a different way of life, and it being hard to redirect them into
As they
okay,
get older.
yeah, every Friday, this is what we're going to do. Oh, but I want to
Right.
go to the Friday night football game, or I
Yeah.
want to do this. And it's like, well, it's really hard to say, to start that tradition when they're,
Like in
16,
their
17
teens
years
or
old.
whatever. Right,
Yeah.
exactly.
But now it's like, hey, you know what we're doing on Friday. You know what we're doing on Saturday. And
I
we
love
just say
that.
no to certain things. And so I think it's critical to do it when they're young. And I think too, it's hard. It's
Yeah.
hard in a different way because kids are young and you don't want to have people over to the house. It's hard to get everything ready, and it's just like sometimes
Yes.
embarrassing, and kids are crying and kids
Sure.
have poopy diapers. But it's like
Yes.
what we realize is like Shabbat and the traditions. This is life, like,
Yes.
and we're just inviting people into a habit and a rhythm that we celebrate, and you are coming into our family, and we're not trying to hide
Yes.
anything.
Right.
This is just daily life, and we
I love
found it
that.
best to invite families that are in a similar phase of life that have other kids, so that our kids can be playing, you
Sure.
know, while we're
Yes.
enjoying dinner. And the hope is that we kind of these traditions and links to the Messiah, they rub off on other people, just
Yeah.
that they're inspired. But I think it's critical to do it when they're young. And I think,
Mhm.
nighttime traditions of reading Bible and memorizing
Yes.
scripture, and
Yes.
yeah, you don't want to lose them.
That's right.
So
I love it. Do it when they're young. Start them off on the right path. Thank you for being a part of the Links to Messiah podcast family. Your support means the world to us, and your feedback and engagement keep us going strong. So don't forget to hit that subscribe button and share this podcast with your friends and family. Let's continue growing this incredible community together. Until next week, keep reading the Bible to your children, keep their curiosity burning, and keep coming back for more tips to anchor your child's faith to Jesus, our Messiah. This is your host, Rachel Links Kushner, signing off with a big smile and a heart full of gratitude.